आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ नमः प्रणवार्थाय शुद्धज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशान्ताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Once one steps into this sadhana with the keen interest to find out what the truth is, with adequate shraddha in what the Shastra says, there is no turning back. Even if one tries to turn back, there will always be the nagging feeling, did I give up something really good? All the same, there is a certain amount of doubt which is natural. I have so many things happening for me. I have so many responsibilities. How can I give them up and focus entirely on this? What might be the most wonderful time-independent, place-independent knowledge which should release me of any binding. Even now, I bank on the words of the Shastra only. I have no other evidence that this will give me all this. So it is not unnatural to get a certain doubt on two fronts. One, if the Shraddha is even slightly hesitant, it is likely to immediately raise doubts to see why not get hold of something which is now so tangible and available now than to focus on something which may or may not be available. Even though the benefit is infinitely larger. And the second thing is conditioning by the world. We are conditioned in several ways. We are conditioned because the whole world says you are a human being, an individual, and you have certain duties, certain responsibilities, which is all true. As long as the understanding of the I is that I am this individual, all that is true. What Shastra does is to help us step outside that comfort zone that I, the individual, fueled by Ahankara, contained in the Sharira, is all there is. So one gets this little doubt, which as we go forward, do more and more Shravanam and Mananam, slowly disappear. There is another Nyaya which says this knowledge is like if you plant a post on the earth, then what do? You just leave it there, it'll be shaky. So you have to consolidate that post by tapping into that been loosened and firming it up. This is what happens as we do more and more Shravanam. This Nyaya applies. Swamiji had another example for this. You start studying Vedanta because you have a certain Shraddha, saying, this is what I want. And this is what the Shastra says, and therefore I have to figure it out. This is like Rashagulla. We're all like Rashagulla. We are all Gulla only. When you put it in the chashni, in the sugar syrup, and allow it to absorb that, only then do we become Rashagulla. That will take time. That individuality, the ahankara is so strong as it is within us, plus reinforced by everybody around us, that it is very difficult to imagine I is not ahankara. Ahankara is I, but I is not ahankara. So it takes a lot of effort, a lot of time. If you look at every other religious upadesha, they don't let you let go of ahankara. It's a big difference between what Vedanta teaches us, what every other religion teaches us. Even when they tell you, you go to heaven or you go to a Jannat or any other such place, you go as you, the I, the ahankara goes with it. Whereas what Vedanta is telling us is, that can never be true. This is a big difference between Vedanta and any other Upadesha. Here is a grand example of how to examine this. It's not an easy thing to do. When you've evolved, grown in the Laukika Jagat, you take on responsibility. The society, the whole world expects you to take on certain responsibility. It expects you to look after the society. It expects you to look after elderly people, particularly family. It expects you to look after, guide, and direct younger children, particularly one's own children. All of these, to use a very, very difficult word, are distractions. But we can't escape them. Fortunately, there are ways of doing this. Bhagavad Gita gives you a wonderful step up, if you want, by telling us something about Karma Yoga. Certain Upanishads also tell us about Upasana, Karma and Upasana. But all those are only meant for getting ready. Ultimately, absolute freedom from time, from space, from objects is only knowledge. It can't be any other way. It is not gaining something. It is only knowing that I'm already full. And therefore, we have this opportunity in life to prepare ourselves to gain this knowledge and totally free ourselves by, in the initial stages, focusing on karma as karma yoga and upasana, prayers, japa, meditation, very necessary steps, but not sufficient. Get us to a position where we're ready for this knowledge. Where we are able to see, to begin with, the valuelessness of everything else relative to that knowledge. Relative to infinity, any number is as valueless as the smallest number. And to be able to see that infinity is a definite possibility takes a lot of understanding. Our entire effort in life is to grow up, go on improving, go on increasing. From where I am, I can always go up. But this going up can be in a very laukika form by fulfilling artha and kama. More and more artha, more and more kama, more and more artha, more and more kama, no end. And dharma, no end. If you really want to see the end of the tunnel, one has to understand that these are, relatively speaking, valueless when compared to total freedom achieved by learning, by knowledge. And to go through this process, typically our Shastras tell us that you have to go through the whole process of brahmacharya, grihastha, then go into vanaprastha and eventually to sannyasa, where your 100% focus is on this knowledge. Some exceptions seem to be there. They're not really exceptions. People like Nachiketa, people like Shankaracharya don't want to go through all that. They say, look, I know there is something to be gained. I want it now. So they don't necessarily go through brahmacharya, grahastha, and all the plus and minus of that, all the pleasures and the pain of that. Everything is a pleasure and pain. Marriage is great pleasure and pain. A child, as all of us would recognize, is a great pleasure and a pain. A growing adult in the form of a teenage child is equally good or equally bad. That is what conditions the mind and says, look, I need to know more. So Shastra tells you to take all these steps. As a brahmachari, as a grahastha, when you are ready mentally in your thinking, Shastra says, look at vanaprastha. Change your focus to that which is infinite. People like Shankaracharya and Nachiketa, very early in their brahmacharya days, want to leapfrog other stages and go straight to gaining that knowledge because they're ready. Their adhikaritvam is already there. So one could question, how did they get it? How come I don't get it? They got it because they've already done this perhaps in the previous Janma. You can't get there without going through Karma Yoga, without going through the cleansing process, without going through total control of Raga Dvesha. Arjuna had the same problem. So they must have gone through all of these in previous Janma, because Bhagavan assures us that when you go through this process, it's never a waste. Kalyanakrit, it will always be in a position where it allow you to continue from there. So these people probably are in that state. Look at the kind of thing Nachiketa says now. It is not what would expect from a young boy. So obviously, he has had enough background, both in the previous Janma and in the current Janma, to be able to talk the way he talks. Yamadharmaraja has given him the highest forms of Laukika Sukha that you can get. Everything, wealth, power, longevity, relationships, everything you can think of. Both Laukika and Alaukika, which others may not even be able to imagine. All that he's been offered. But his Vairagya is so clear. Where did he get that Vairagya from? Sometimes you see, small children exhibiting knowledge way beyond their years. Whether it is in music or other knowledge, other skills. When I watch these programs sometimes on TV, Indian Idol and some of those Saregama type of programs, I look at it and say, my God, where did they get it from? It's not possible that in the 3, 4, 5 years that they spent in this Janma, they could have gained this. It's not possible. Just now, I read about one young girl, 14 years, who in a 50-over match, cricket match, smashed some 300 odd runs. Never heard of. Where did the skill come from? It has to have come from before. This knowledge also has to have come from before. So when young people, when they study this, they are always in a dilemma. My guru says, this is the only thing to do. I am convinced that's the only thing to do. But there's always a little lingering doubt. Should I drop everything and become a sannyasi? Ultimately, there is no escape from that. At least manasikama, one has to become a sannyasi. Which means essentially entire focus is only on this knowledge. One needn't necessarily wear kavi vastra. That's only symbolic. So Nachiketa is in exactly the same state. He's not a formal sannyasi. But look at his vairagya. After all that temptation that Yamadharmaraja has given him, this is what he says. Nachiketa uvacha. Ashobhava matyasya yadanta kaitat sarvendriyanam jarayanti tejah api sarvam jeevitam alpameva तवैव वाहास्तव नृत्य गीते
तवैव
वैभवास्तव
तव
नृत्ये
गीते
मत्तस्य अन्तकः यत् एतत् स्वभावाः सर्वेन्द्रियाणां तेजः जरयन्ति. Hey Lord, of death, yat etat shvobhavaha. One easy way of understanding shvobhava is more. Acharya talks a lot about this. Shvaha is tomorrow. Shvaha abhavaha becomes shvobhavaha. That which may be there may not be there tomorrow. All that you're offering me are bound in time. How many of us can see that? Hey Mrityu, hey Antakaha, one who ends, one is the end for any Martya Jiva. Addressing him, he says, Yat etat shvobhavaha. All these that you're offering me, money, power, land, relationships, everything, sarvendriyanam tejaha jarayanti. They will slowly kill all the skills, power of the indriyas. Sarvendriyanam tejaha jarayanti. We know that. We can get some immediate pleasure out of these. Each one takes us, if not backwards, at least stops us in our tracks towards what we really need to get. That's why I called it distraction. In the beautiful imagery in another Upanishad, you see, it is like a ratha, and the horses are the senses. All these are sense-fulfilling pleasures. If you let it go, where will the horses go? Where they find something to fulfill their senses. In the case of a horse, they'll go to where? On the side of the road, you find grass, horse will go there. It is a distraction from the path where you take that you've taken. They are all such that they will at least be ones which will hold you back. All the senses will get diminished. All these are alpa. It doesn't matter how long, they're all alpa. The difference between where I want to go, where I want to understand is Purnatvam, and anything else is exactly the same. Where I am today, and all the effort that I make, all the karma that I do, I raise myself to another level. It is exactly as far away from where I want to go. So he says, Sarvam api jivitam alpameva. Hey Mrityu, hey Dharmaraja, tabaiva vahaha tavayeva bhavantu. Please keep all your vahana. You are sending me celestial damsels, sarathaha, with their ratha, various fancy vahan. I don't want them, please keep them. Same thing with Nitya Gita. They are wonderful dancers, mesmerizing singers. Nitya Gite Tava Eva Bhavatam. May that also be remain with you. Amazing that a small young boy should be able to tell Dharmaraja, keep it, I don't want it. Taveva Vaha Tava Nritya Gite. Shankaracharya introduces this verse with one verse. He does it beautifully, connects the verses. Mrityunya evam.
From where, Swamiji?
Where is it? We'll go up a little. Maybe it is up in there. I don't know. One more. No, it's not there in this. Okay, this is a sentence. That's how this thing starts. The Bashyam starts. Okay, I'll read it. Mrityuna evam pralobhyamanaha.
Mrit-
मृत्युना एवं प्रलोभ्यमानः
It is somewhere. No. Other way. There. But it's no one slight difference is there. Mrityuna evam pralobhyamana api evam
Mrityuna evam pralobhyamana
प्रलोभ्यमानोऽपि
nachiketaha mahadhrudatvat
Nachiketaha
महाहृदत्वत्
akshobhyah aha.
क्षोभ्यः आह
Nachiketa uvacha. Under what condition? He says, in this fashion, mrityuna evam pralobhyamanaha api. By Lord Yama, that is not there in this, but it's implied, it's there in my text. By Lord Yama, inducing greed in Nachiketa. I told you, we all have our weak spots. Sometimes in the mind, one has seen somebody with something which, or read somewhere, how wonderful it will be to have a house in the south of France, a villa in the south of France, or anything else. How wonderful it would be to be able to stand on the podium at Olympics. Or one has in mind, which may tempt one into the lobha. Our Yamadharma Raja has taken the whole gamut. At least some of them will trick, not a good word, will make Nachiketa, his greed, take over. So much I'm offering him. Despite all this offer, pralobhyamanaha api, lobha is greed. Even though being offered everything to induce greed in Nachiketa, how does Nachiketa react? Nachiketaha mahahridatvat. Mahahridat is huge still water lake. Unlike ocean, a large, deep, still water lake is still. Nothing changes in that. No amount of external forces changes the nature of the huge lake. Mahahridatvat. it remains unshaken, unmoved. Nachiketa was like that, akshobhya, undisturbed, unperturbed, unshaken. He is not tempted. His clarity of what he wants doesn't change one bit. Akshobhya aha. Being unmoved, undisturbed, unshaken. Nachiketa says, Obhava martyasya yadanta kaitat. Hey, martyasya anta kaitat. Sarvendriyanam jarayanti tejaha. All this you're offering me, celestial women, music, dance, wealth, land, power, all of them will dull these senses. They are not going to heighten the senses. In the sense that if my senses dull, I am not going to be able to get what I'm looking for. Same thing with all the jiva, your longevity you're offering me. Api sarvam jivitam alpameva. Therefore, all these things you please keep. Tavaiva vaha tavagnitya gite. I told you in the next 3 verses also, 3 mantras, Nachiketa is going to expand on this. And we will see how clear his thinking is. We also go through all this. We also say, look, there is something to be gained. How can I give up all this and go? Even what we have, we don't want to give up. Nachiketa is being offered everything else also. Tavaiva vaha tavanritya gite. Bashyam. Shobhavaha.
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 So the typical style of Bashyam, you take the word Shobhavaha from the mantra and you'll expand on that. Shvo bhavishyanti na bhavishyanti.
Bhavishyanti na bhavishyanti.
Whether it is there in the future, Shvo is Shvaha, tomorrow. Bhavishyanti na bhavishyanti. Will it be there? Will it not be there? Veti sandikhyamana.
Veti
Veti
sandikhyamana.
Eva esham bhavaha.
Eva
eva
yesham
yesham bhavaha.
Avanam.
Avanam.
These, will they exist tomorrow? Will not exist tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes, you heard. When, okay, it might exist tomorrow. What about day after tomorrow, the day after that? You're offering me all this, but even good things, you get it repeatedly, it loses value. You know, you have this theory of diminishing returns. If you eat an apple, you get some satisfaction. If you eat 2 apples, the second apple gives you less satisfaction. You try a third, it gives you even less satisfaction. Returns will be less and less and less. How long can I enjoy these things that you're giving me? There's a doubt about this. Sandikhyamana, there's doubtful. Shobhava, that is Shobhava. Tvaya upanyasthanam, upasyanam, upanyasthanam,
Tvaya
Tvaya
upanyasthanam.
Bhoganam,
Bhoganam.
te Shobhavaha.
Te
Shobhavaha.
shobhavaha.
These are all Shobhavaha. Or what is that? Tvaya upanyasthanam future. Will they exist? All this you're offering me. It is doubtful. I said we might get sometimes a doubt about whether this moksha as an idea is really true or not. Maybe a doubt. But even these are doubtful. Will they exist? They will not exist. All that you're offering me, tvaya upanyasthanam, that is being offered by you, te shvabhavaha. No point. Kincha
Kincha
Mattasya.
Matyasya
Tasya is Manushya Antakaha.
Manushya Antaka.
Manushya Antakaha, the one who provides the end of any Martya Jiva. He Mrityoho, that's what he refers
He
to.
Mrityoho.
Yamadharmaraja. He Mrityoho.
He
Mrityoho.
Mrityoho
Yat edat sarvendriyanam tejaha.
Yadet
Tat sarvendriyanam
Sarvendriyanam
tejaha.
Tejaha
Jarayanti.
Tadjarayanti
Apakshapayanti.
Kshayanti.
Apakshapayanti
Pakshanam, they will decline. All that you're offering me, hey Mrityu, the interaction between all the indriyas and the objects of the indriya, that is samsara. We keep seeking some kind of a sukha, some kind of a pleasure in this whole process. And that is why he's offering objects of pleasure. But they will blunt all the indriyas in time. Therefore, yad etat sabendriyanam tejaha tat jarayanti. Apekshanam is the decline of these. All physical bodies go through these 6 stages of change, vikara. Asti jayate, vardhate, viparnimate, apakshiyate, and eventually they will go. They're all bound within time. It doesn't matter how long it is. They will go. What about the apsaras? Apsaraha,
Apsaraha
pravrittayo bhogaha,
Prabhrityo Bhogaha
anartha eva etat,
Anartha Eva Etat
anarthaya eva ete. These are also meaningless. So they also have the same problem. They're all time bound. What I am looking for is that knowledge which is the source of time itself. Therefore, even these are useless. That which will presented to me, prabhurtayoho, all these apsaras, etc., all these bhogaha, anarthayoho, anarthaya eva ete, anarthya yaivete. Because dharma, virya,
Dharma
prajna, tejaha, yashaha, prabhuttinam, chapayitritvat. All these they bring me. Dharma, virya, prajna, tejo, yasha, prabhuttinam,
Dharma Virya Prajna Tejo
Prasha
Yasha
Pravriti.
Prabhritinam
Chapayitritva. They are subject to decline and eventually disappearance. What are these? Dharma, all punya will be exhausted. Virya, strength, prajna, intelligence, knowledge, all of them. Tejaha, samarthyam, skill, power, yashaha, fame, etc. Pravrithinam shapayitritvat. They are all subject to decline and death. They will not exist. But here, Swami Paramahansa makes a very interesting statement about yasha. Yashaha, in this whole thing, in fact, he says, if you look at any human being, there are three things that happen. You are a karta, doer, a bhokta, an enjoyer, and you're also jnata or pramata. How do you examine an animal in the same way? Animal is neither a karta, because it doesn't have that same sense of I, nor is it a jnata. It is basically a bhokta. Now, what you're offering me is to make me a bhokta. Therefore, you ask me to reduce myself to an animal. Be a bhokta only. Animal, jiva, takes form as an animal to exhaust certain karma, predominantly papa karma. So you have to enjoy all that. Enjoy meaning experience all that. That's what he asked me to do. Downgrade myself. All these are not what I'm looking for. All right. You're offering me long life also. What about that? Because he says they're all subject to time, they will die. No, but I'm offering you also as long as you want to live, long life. That also he addresses Acharya. He says, Yancha
Yancha
api dheerga jivikam
api dirgha jivikam
ditsasi
tvam ditsasi
atrapi shrunu.
tatrapi shnu.
On that long life also let me tell you. Not that Yamadharmaraja requires telling, he knows. But Nachiketa is trying to tell him that I know. So even this Dhirga Jivika that you're offering me, Tvam Ditsasi, that you're giving me, hear about that also. I will tell you what I think of that. Sarvam Yat Brahmanopi
Yad brahmanopi
Jivitam
jivitam
Ayuhu Alpameva
ayuhu alpameva
Kimuta Asmadadi Dhirga Jivika.
Asmadadi
Adadi
dirgha
dirgha
jivika.
jivika.
Talking about this, even Brahma, we have this time scales, no? We have our earth time, earth years, months, etc. As you go up in the scale of the different lokas, these time scales change. Ultimately, the biggest time scale is for Brahmaji. Brahmaji is also part of the samsara. Firstborn, Prathamaja. Brahmaji is the first, created first. And how long does he last? From our perspective, from the earth perspective, one kalpa. And how do you calculate one kalpa? You take the 4 yugas. Satyuga, Treta Yuga, whatever, and Kali Yuga. Together, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. Together, that time frame is 4.32 million Earth years. years that we know. That forms half a day of Brahmaji. And he has 1,000 such days available to him. He also comes, goes, and another Brahmaji comes over, takes over. So if we calculate, it is something like 8.6 billion Earth years. He says very nicely, Sarvam yad brahmanopi jivitam ayuhu alpameva. Even that is limited, finite. Brahmaji's life itself is finite. What long jiva are you going to give me? Yours is also finite. You will see later, he said, this is only a position that you're holding. You're also subject to death. Not death, subject to destruction. You're relatively long, but it's still finite. Sarvam yad brahmanopi jivitam ayuhu alpameva. What to talk of people like me? What can he give me? Kimuta asmadadi dirgha jivika. What kind of long life are you talking for me? You give me all the ideas of pleasure. You give me long life. All of them, you give me fame, power, everything. All of them are subject to decline and death, destruction. What are you talking about? My life, long life. Doesn't make any sense to Nachiketa. Kimuta asmadadi dirgha jivika. What to talk of? Our long life. Even Brahmaji, which is the highest in terms of time that we know of, Kalpa, even that is finite. Nothing minuscule. How long can you make it? No, as long as you want. I want infinite. That is not possible. It is finite. Even Brahmaji has finite life. So, what to talk of our lives? Asmadadi dirgha jivika. What are you talking about? Our long life. What I am looking for is the Purnatvam. So he knows something. He's heard, he's discussed with Panditas, whatever. He knows. So he's very clear. I am looking for that which is not subject to time, which transcends time, which is the cause of time. That knowledge I'm looking for. Kimuta asmadadi dirgha jivika. Don't tempt me with all this apsaras and pleasures and riches and land and also jiva, longevity. I am not tempted. I am not tempted. All these things you can keep with me. What I asked for, what happens? Prete. That is all I asked for as my third boon. Asti va nasti. That is what I want. Please teach me that Brahma Vidya, correct understanding of this. Ataha
Ataha
tavaiva tishthantu
Tiष्ठन्तु
ahaha
Vahaha
rathadayaha
Rathadayaha
तथा एव
Tatha
नित्य गीते च.
नित्यगीते च
Therefore, हे धर्मराजा, अतः तव एव तिष्ठन्तु. उंगटे இருக்கட்டும். May it be with you only. All this that you are giving me, I don't want. What are the kind of things that he is offering? Vahaha, rathadayaha, ratha, etc. Ratha Adayaha, Tathadayaha, Tatha and Taba Nritya Geete cha. All the dance and dancing girls and music instruments and Vahana, longevity, all of these things you're offering me, please keep with you. I can do without them. Because he knows what I have today. If I have X amount, and if you're offering me 100X, it is still the same. No difference. I still have to really get to the stage of Purnatvam. Whether I get from here or here makes no difference. So all these you're offering me is only a step up within the loka, within samsara. What I have, I'm okay. What I want, I don't want anything else. I do not have a want other than moksha jnanam. If we can be so clear in our thinking, we would already be sannyasis. Kincha
Kincha
na vittena tarpaniyo manushyah
Navittena tarpaniyo manushyaha
napsyamahe vittamadrakshma chetva
Lapsyahe
Drakshma
vittadrakshachitva
जीविष्यामो यावदीशिष्यसि त्वम्
Jivishyamu yavadishyasitvam
वरस्तु मे वरणीयः स एव
Varastu
Tume
me
varaniya
varaniya
sa
sa
eva
eva
I ask for. All this don't tempt me. Don't try to tempt me. I am not tempted. Varahatu me varaniyah sa eva. This is the only vara I will ask. In fact, beautifully this is classified because in this, what he said in the current mantra that we studied, Ubhavaha Matyasya Idantikate Sarvendriyanam Jaranti Teja. All this that you're offering me in terms of artha, in terms of kama, all these celestial damsels, music, dance, etc., all kama. Long life. All this I've told you I don't want. What about all the artha? Wealth, land, all of that. That also I don't want. Because all that also is limited. We will see that in the next class, see how he expands on that, how Acharya makes us understand how Nachiketa's thinking is. And maybe it'll give us some more clarity in our thinking by listening to Nachiketa and Acharya's explanation of Nachiketa's words. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om